live TV.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. My thanks once again to Jim Bond for having joined us. And stop charging Maria for Todd and Javier by 5 over Unbridled Forever in the coaching club. Our next guest has gotten off to a very fine start at this year's meet, and will try to enhance things later this afternoon when he sends out Captain Sirius in the Amsterdam. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. Mike Hushion. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Nice to have you. Congratulations, first of all, on getting off to a good start at the meet.
It's been fun.
Takes a lot of pressure off, doesn't it, when things go well early on?
All the trainers up here know that what the pressure is, and do we need to perform? It's a bad time to go on a slow streak.
Yeah. We are about to take a look at Captain Sirius in his last race. This is a game second in the Dwyer. For our audience, he is number 1A in here. Mike, he ran awfully well this day, and I thought this might be a stepping stone to a race like the Curlin or the Jim Dandy, but instead you're shortening him up this afternoon. Tell us why.
Well, I had some choices with him. I'm still not convinced that he wants to go over a mile. I'm sure he can go a mile. I like the way this fit his training schedule, the amount of time between races, and we don't have to get in a hurry to go after the big boys. There'll be plenty of opportunities. By big boys, I mean the grade ones.
Right. He appears to have natural speed, but is very rateable.
Right, so it's a questionable race as far as what the speed is and who's going to go, but with our outside post position, it makes it nice and easy for the rider. If we break sharp, I would think Jose would prefer to be in front, but if somebody sends, we'd be laying second on outside and would be fine also.
Because you've got some speed immediately outside of you with big guy Ian with blinkers on today. So he's likely to show some speed, could apply some pressure to you from the outside.
He could if he outbreaks us and sends hard. He could just sit there in the middle of the track and wait for things to sort itself out and make it around the turn, tuck in.
Now, here in the Dwyer, when they turn for home, he opens up a little bit right here when asked, did you think at some point you were home?
Yes. Yeah, and I never like to lose, but it hurts twice as much when you think you had it won and you and you lose. And even Tom Durkin gave us a favorable call at the top of the stretch, and I always listen to what Tom has to say. I believe him more than my own eyes sometimes.
Now, you mentioned earlier that today's Amsterdam is perfect for his training schedule, yet it's only been 3 weeks since the Dwyer. You're happy with that time period?
Yes, and if I'm going to turn him back, like everyone else, and he runs a big race today, that gives us a nice amount of time for the King's Bishop.
And how is he doing coming into the Amsterdam?
Very good. He's a very easy. He's probably the easiest horse in the barn to train.
Really?
Yeah, he takes good care of himself and doesn't do anything silly.
That's wonderful.
It sure is.
Well, we're going to take a look at a couple others who got the meet started off very nicely for you. You had a couple of winners on Wednesday. We're going to begin with Artemis Agraterra. For our audience, she is number 1A in here. This is a state-bred, non-winners to other than, and your fellow trainers must have been ill when they saw her name in this race. Why this spot, Mike?
Well, I was very disappointed in her race before, and I wanted to find something out. And this, if we were on the right track, I changed the way I trained her, and she seemed to be doing well, but I wanted to find out for sure. We can go anywhere we want from this race. But right about halfway around the turn is when she did not run well where we could see it. If the rider had to start nudging her at that time, I knew that I was in trouble. And when she ran big, he didn't have to. And when I saw her halfway around the turn and she was still taking him there, I felt very good about this race.
What was the difference in training her up to this race versus the Acorn where she did not run well that day?
Well, I don't know if that's what made the difference, but I was a lot harder on her for the Acorn training her. If you look at her work tab, there's some just easy half miles, and the couple of days leading up to the race, I trained her very light, and she seemed to respond. Sometimes big, strong horses, you tend to want to train them harder, and that can be a mistake.
How did she come out of this romp, and will we see her again at the meet?
You'll see her. I'm not sure. Hopefully, you'll see her. She seems fine. I haven't decided for sure where she's going to go, but you know, I want to see what kind of a number she ran, and I'm not going to rule out the ballerina.
Okay. One race earlier, Girl About Town, who is number 2 in here, broke her maiden by a pole as a second-time starter. Mike, talk about this filly.
Well, when I first started training her in Florida over the winter, she just looked like she had no talent. But I had this big, beautiful filly, well-bred filly. Mr. Broman calls her Miss America, almost sarcastically when she wasn't training good. That a couple of months ago, you know, the light switch went on, as they say, and she showed us in the morning that she was a different horse, and she's been the last 2 months. She's been great to train.
Wow, I would have never guessed, because it certainly from this looks like she's got a very bright future. Isn't it interesting that certain horses, you know, the light bulb goes off at different times for different horses?
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's not an easy decision for a trainer when you get to the point where you're wasting the owner's money training a horse and where they're really worth waiting. But Mr. Broman's got a lot of patience.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Broman have played, you know, a major role in the New York breeding industry for decades. It's got to be nice to saddle one like this, or 2, after Artemis Agritera for them here at Saratoga.
It's nice. It's nice for the homebreds, for everybody too. You know, Captain Sirius is a homebred. I trained his mother, and it's kind of special when you train the family.
Kind of nice to camp out in the Saratoga Winter Circle too.
It's not a bad spot.
Now, on Monday, my Wendys Girl makes her first start since the middle of May in the Honorable Miss. How's she doing?
She's doing fine. I'm happy. She's bouncing the last couple of weeks. You know, 6 furlongs would not be ideal distance, but once again, the timing was good. We had a period where we had to stop training her for a week before, so getting her going, getting her works going, it was either this or just work her a couple more times hard. So, you know, she's a good filly, and she lays it out there every time she runs. There's a good amount of speed in there, and I think if they do go a little bit, you know, we'll make a little run at them last part of it.
Because she's never won at 3/4. She hasn't raced at 6 furlongs that much,
right,
but she's winless at 3/4. And, you know, for a handicapper looking at Monday's race, the question is, Mike, is this just a starting point for her to get her going for the second half of the year, or is she fit enough and tight enough to win at 3/4 on Monday?
Oh, she's fit enough and tight enough. I think pace will dictate it, you know, because she's not a natural 3/4 horse.
Right.
But if there's enough pace, 3/4 for a come-from-behind horse can be easier than 7/8.
Well, Mike, as always, we appreciate your time very much. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch, and we want to say thank you another way by giving you this $100 gift certificate to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga Springs. Open daily, lunch and dinner beginning at 11:30. The steak is good, the chicken is good, the scallops are good. And when I look at that shot on the screen, I get extremely hungry. So take this with our regards.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again, and best of luck this afternoon, Captain Series.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike Hushion, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our final break.